My God, I hate drugs.
Happy birthday!
Here in the newsroom on CNN Philippines tonight, a labor group pushes for a higher minimum wage to help consumers keep up with rising prices of goods. Solicitor General Jose Calida breaks his silence and defends the family business that has bagged millions in government deals. And an NBA legend is in Manila, and CNN Philippines got to catch up with him. Good evening, I'm Cherry Mercado. A labor group is moving to increase workers' pay, saying it's long overdue. And a proposal for a significant rate hike is now in Congress. Our CN Arcangel tells us more.
Clifford Ernazan struggles to make ends meet with the 512 peso minimum wage he earns daily as a mechanic. With a wife and 3 children to feed, Ernazan says he takes on odd jobs to earn more.
Nagsiservice ay sa labas pagka may magpapa-home service, kahit na yung overtime na, medyo hirap. Kailangan ang diskarte dito ngayon, may konting extra income ka dapat.
With prices of basic goods on the rise, the Trade Union Congress of the Philippines believes it's time to increase the minimum wage nationwide by 320 pesos. TUCP Party List Representative Raymond Mendoza filed House Bill 7805 to legalize the pay hike, which aims to benefit all workers in the private sector. Vicente Camilon Jr., TUCP spokesperson, says workers deserve a 320 peso increase in the minimum wage, considering it's been almost 30 years since the last legislated pay hike. After the passage of the Wage Rationalization Act of 1989, he says regional wage boards only approved minimal hikes in workers' pay.
Napataas po ng pataas ang productivity ng mga manggagawa. Ang problema po, pabagsak ng pabagsak yung real wages.
Camilon says they arrived at a 320 peso proposed increase after computing the effect of inflation and government-mandated deductions on the minimum wage. In Metro Manila alone, he says the buying power of the 512 peso minimum wage has shrunk to 450 pesos due to the rising prices of basic goods and electricity.
Yung 320 pesos na hinihingi po namin sa NCR na magiging 823, survival wage lang din po yun, sir. Hindi po ito talaga masasabing, wow, ang sarap na ng buhay ng mga workers.
In a statement, Employers Confederation of the Philippines President Donald D. warns that the country will lose its competitive edge if the minimum wage is increased. He adds, raising workers' pay is against the, quote, stated policy, unquote, of increasing jobs to help reduce poverty. Camilon, however, believes employers can shoulder the cost of raising the minimum wage since businesses are benefiting from the economic boom. He says businessmen are just trying to scare workers by warning of job losses if the pay hike pushes through.
Ito'y nanggagaling sa perspective ng greed, ng gahaman. Yung hindi pagbibigay ng tamang sahod tapos tatakutin. Hindi, nandyan naman yung pera eh. Nandyan naman yung income. Nag-increase nga po yung GDP, nag-expand nga yung economy, nag-increase nga yung productivity, nag-increase nga yung national income.
Despite Labor Secretary Sylvester Bello's pronouncement that raising the minimum wage to 750 pesos is impossible, Camilon says TUCP will continue to push for a 320 peso increase both in and out of Congress. CN Arcangel, CNN Philippines.
The Bangko Sentral says prices of basic goods and services may have gone higher in May. The BSP says it sees inflation settling between 4.6 to 5.4% this month, up from April's 4.5%, which was a 5-year high. The central bank says its projection is based on higher fuel and rice prices this month. Global oil prices have peaked at above $80 per barrel in recent weeks. Rice became expensive as the government ran out of cheap rice, prompting a decision to import the staple sooner than later. The announcement was made ahead of the release of inflation figures next week. Malacanang earlier said the government is looking at importing cheaper diesel from Russia to help Filipinos cope with rising fuel prices. But the Energy Department says don't expect lower prices anytime soon. Negotiations for the importation process have just begun. An energy official says it may also take a while for supply to arrive. The government is eyeing an initial volume of 240 million liters of diesel. Government says that's not enough to pull down prices right away.
No. Masyado siyang maliit. Ang sinasabi natin kasi, hindi stockpiling kasi siya. Ito yung suporta pa doon sa minimum inventory requirements. So it's more on energy security.
For now, the imported fuel will augment the country's energy supply. The government may also sell them in bulk to oil players. The Philippine Identification System Bill is just awaiting the signature of President Duterte. Once a law, all Filipinos can get a unified ID that can be used in all government and even private transactions. Our chief correspondent Pia Ontiveros went on the record with Representative Sol Aragones of Laguna, the National ID System co-author at the House of Representative Antonio Tino of the ACT Teachers Party list, who is against the bill, and Mon Liboro, the National Privacy Commission chief.
Philippine identification system is primarily established to provide a valid proof of identity for all citizen and resident aliens as a means of simplifying public and private transactions. So it will eliminate the need to present other forms of identification when transacting with the different government agencies and the private sector. And this is also subject to authentication.
Our position is that the national ID system is by definition a tool for surveillance and control of the citizenry. No? And under the Duterte administration, where we have a president who has an open contempt for human rights, civil liberties, and due process, it can easily become a tool for repression.
Yeah, but you would have
citizens.
opposed it in any other past administration.
As we have.
In instituting, for example, the security measures, that the ICT, together with the Philippine Statistical Authority, will be on top of that. And we will be there to, inject what we call privacy by design. No? It's a globally recognized intervention, meaning doon palang sa get-go palang PIA, ini-incorporate na natin itong mga privacy features. And I guess this is what is basically different now from this law and compared to the other proposals that had been there percolating for the past 18 years. Is that this time we have the National Privacy Commission and the Data Privacy Act to really make sure that the government does its job in protecting it.
Catch the replays of On the Record on Saturday at 5:30 p.m. and on Sunday at 10 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. Malacanang hopes lawmakers will make sure the final version of the Bangsamoro Basic Law to be signed by President Duterte can withstand legal challenge. House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez earlier expressed concern the bill may be unconstitutional insofar as the Bangsamoro political entity replacing the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao is concerned. The Constitution only recognizes the ARMM as the autonomous political unit in the South. Presidential spokesman Harry Roque says lawmakers only have the bicameral committee proceedings to come up with a bill that will avoid failures of past proposals.
We're hoping that congressmen will also exert all efforts to make sure that this BBL will withstand judicial scrutiny, having learned already from the lessons of the earlier MOA AD.
Roque says President Duterte is aware of the different BBL versions by lawmakers and the Bangsamoro Transition Commission. But he says the president managed to allay fears of different groups when he served as mediator during their meeting in Malacanang Monday night. Here now are some of the top stories from around the world. A top North Korean official is now in the U.S. trying to set up a historic summit with U.S. President Donald Trump. Kim Yong-chol met with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. It's been 18 years since any North Korean official of his rank visited the U.S. Negotiators are trying to reschedule the summit between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. It was originally set for June 12th in Singapore before President Trump called it off. The White House says the administration is still aiming for a June 12th meeting. Meantime, this Kim has already met with the U.S. president. Hollywood celebrity Kim Kardashian West met with Mr. Trump and other officials at the White House to discuss prison reform. The entrepreneur and reality television star is advocating for the pardon of a low-level drug offender named Alice Marie Johnson. In a statement, Kardashian West said she is optimistic that Johnson will get a second chance at life. And a grand jury indicts Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein on charges of rape and criminal sexual acts. The Manhattan District Attorney made the announcement Wednesday afternoon. Weinstein's attorney says his client will enter a not guilty plea to the charges. His spokesperson issued a statement saying there was not enough time to prepare Weinstein to testify. He turned himself in on Friday with a deadline set for Wednesday to testify or not. Weinstein's request for more time was denied.